Welcome to the Autoshite interviews. Tonight we have Ben, more commonly known as Egg from the forum, a long-time member, joined on Boxing Day 2015. It was his idea to start doing something like this while we're all under house arrest, so what better way to kick things off than with Ben. In this, I don't know how long it'll be, I haven't edited it yet, we'll be talking about his collection of cars, the reasons that he has for picking them up, and we go on some random tangents about Rover K series and BMW Minis.
But yeah, basically we can just get straight into it because any sort of intro I'm going to do off before I do the editing.
Yeah, cool.
So what? Yeah, I mean, let's start with the Ford, really.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, how long you had it, and just tell us about it, really.
Yeah. So I guess the car that really started with on the forum is the '93 Mondeo. It's a very early one. It's sort of built in March '93. Most sort of very Ford around. It was built in Belgium, and Ford was sort of ramping up production from around January time '93. So by March they were sort of producing a lot of the they're up to speed really with production. And if you look at some of the press cars, they were mostly built in February '93. Then March '93, obviously, it's starting to send them out to dealers and whatever. So yeah, so mine was registered June '93. So obviously it took a while for it to come over, and it's a very early one. And I do think that some of the early ones, Ford were trying really hard. They launched them at a good point, like some of their other cars, like the Escort at the time. We all know about Escort Mark V was a bit shit, and it took sort of facelifted it almost immediately, didn't they? I think because it had so many problems, and the press hammered it. But I think, to be honest, one day it came out in a pretty good state from the start. And mine's obviously a base model, bottom of the range, the only Mondeo that didn't have a sunroof and had keep fit windows on the front, which is the only one. So the window winders are actually sort of on the speakers, because of course most cars, they were designed to have electric windows. But they engineered a solution just for a few hundred people who had a base model. Well, a few of them, you know what I mean? It was never meant. It was just meant to be the car I've got you in the dealership, obviously, for the headline price. But yeah. So I think mine basically, it could have been. It had two owners. But the first owner was only a couple of months, and I reckon it was probably the dealer demonstrator. And it went to an old boy, probably bought it at a decent price off the forecourt, pre-registered. And he had it until 2016 when I bought it, and it was going to go banger racing, I think. And I thought, well, it was 200 quid or something, 220 quid, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go, see if I can save it. And I've been part of the family ever since. Really.
So was that the attraction, the fact that it was in, I mean, you say base spec. I tend to call those cars more performance because there's less weight in them to affect the 0 to 60. But, as you said there, it was going to banger racing. Is that why you stepped in to save it? Or?
Yeah, well, it was more sort of it was posted up on the forum with like 2 hours to go, and it was under 200 quid then. I think it was up at 150 before I started on it. And I think it was just like it was the fact that it was an early one did sort of draw me in, even though at that time I didn't really know exactly kind of how early it was in production. It's only kind of after I got it, but I worked out, it really is genuinely an early car, because I know a few, it's probably about 4 or 5 other cars that are earlier than that left. There was a couple made in February, a few in January. Some of it, reckon, was some made in before Christmas '92, but that seems to be a bit of an urban myth. Not a very important urban myth, but so yeah, it sort of, that became the thing really. In fact, it was a base. Everyone on the forum was like, "Bloody hell, it's pretty rare actually," and there's no rev counter. It's basic of a basic, so it's like almost got like it's got the same dials as a Transit basically, because the dials are pretty much like we would have had in the Transit at the time. Yeah, it's sort of, once it got a bit of love on the forum, I sort of thought, actually, I could probably, it's a solid car, there's very little rust, that's what kills them. or the clutch, because the clutch is a 400 quid job. Not very easy. Yeah, but it just is nobody. It's not really a driveway job. Everyone says. I have seen on Facebook someone do it. It means dropping the whole subframe. It's and that has to be aligned, and there's lots of not something I'll attempt. I think this one's on its original clutch. It's only done 60,000 thousand. It does bite quite high, but it doesn't slip. So that is a job I'm saving up for, but a job I know one day will come. It's going to have to, and I think the thing will be is finding someone who wants to do it, because it's just like, not a job that probably people fancy, and it probably was a job that mechanics 10, 15 years ago had down pat because they did them all the time, but these days it's probably a bit of a rarity. So that's something.
I was just going to say there'd be a danger of them breaking nuts off, because I know when I did my Corolla, there was 2 nuts I had break off when I was doing the clutch on that, and it's a pain in the arse then.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why sort of going a bit wider. That's why a lot of garages don't like working on the older stuff really, because the sort of the downside of you're just not going to get it done in book time as soon as something goes wrong, and I can see why some garages just tell us work down on older stuff when you can just do a basic service on cars just out of warranty. Wouldn't you rather do that? It's probably a lot downside easier rather than messing around with 25, 30-year-old bolts and screws and potentially parts being wrong and that kind of thing. Because obviously factors don't carry a lot of this stuff now, so it gets ordered in. Not to be honest, if Mondeo isn't a car that had a load of variations in terms of parts, it did stay pretty constant for its run. It's not like a French thing where every 2 days several different part numbers, so you can rely on it in that way. And actually, what's quite good at the upside of having a Ford is that in this country, there's so much information out there. You just have to Google this stuff, and in these old forums, there's talk Ford forums, really good for this. You find, for instance, 10, 15 years ago when these cars were just getting old, and you go, oh yeah, okay, I've got these problems now, 15 years on, and you can kind of work out what to do, whether you can do it yourself, whether someone else is going to need to do it for you, and so on. So,
because that's the benefit of an older car, isn't it?
Yeah. It's also just like compared to the Mazda, my Mazda, you can't just Google stuff on that because it's not particularly popular over here. There is a forum for a 323s. 323 that's more sort of hatchback style. A lot of people have a V6, so there's stuff around that, but it's just not got that traction that Ford has here. That Ford, everyone's modded them, everyone's done work on them, just the blue oval. So it's kind of ways to keep it going, really. But anyway, I don't think many people are looking after a base model because they are a bit slow. It's 90 horsepower, 1.6, so it's just about adequate. Back in the day it would have been fine, but when you see, so many cars do 7-8 seconds to 60 now, don't they? So if you're coming onto a motorway, you're quite conscious a lot of the time. When you get to 50, to get to 70, it takes a while. You're not going to get there quick, and you're conscious of people behind you a lot of the time. But it's all right. I don't mind too much. I think when you're in a bigger car anyway, people just all stay back. I don't know why it is. Mazda gets a lot more intimidation. I think it's because when you see a smaller car, they assume it's an old deer, and they want to get up your backside. But it's a funny thing that. But that's for Mondeo really.
So other than the clutch, that's hopefully won't be for another long time. What is your plan with it really? Are you going to keep it? Get rid of it, whatever? Yeah.
So your plan is to keep it stock, keep it as it is. There is always jobs to be done. There's a list of sort of. One of the things is the power steering pipes. They run along the front subframe, very very exposed to the air. It's on the low pressure side, so it's only really the cooler. As far as you probably could just get rid of it and cut it off, which is actually what's been done on my Mazda. But I want to do it right, so I think eventually they're going to need replacing. People use copper and stuff, but I don't know. I might try and get an original part if I can find one. They just rust out. They just rust out because they literally run along the bottom of the subframe, inside the car, obviously. But it's just all the salt comes up and then it's really crusty. It must have been an advisory before. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So different MOT testers take a different view. But that's definitely a job. What else have we got to do? I think the it still runs pretty cool, and it stays at the low end of the dial. I think perhaps a new stat might help that, but it might just be they have these Z-Techs, particularly the silver top ones. These early ones have a reputation for running cool. So it may be it's entirely correct, but of course you're always thinking, is there something else going on? But I think it is just probably the stat, but that needs doing, because that's one of the few things. Shame it wasn't done really. I didn't get the guys to do it when he did the pump and everything else, because we could have obviously done all that at the same time. And I probably could do the stat myself. It's fairly straightforward, but it's just obviously I don't have a driveway, so I'm working the street, so I'm always a bit conscious of any wet jobs. So anything we could put oil or coolant, and with the local animals around, you've got to be a bit mindful of your neighbours. And
I'd love it. I'd love it if I could have my dog come in when I'm doing work on the car and everything. But I think I'm there looking at her, and she's already got a dodgy tummy as it is. She's a very soft constitution, this dog has. And I was like, the money I'm saving doing the car myself would be offset by the vet's bills that you get from the end of it. You know? But anyway,
exactly.
So like we'll move on, because we'll go on to the which you keep mentioning. Your Mazda 323?
Yeah. So that's the little coupe. Supposedly my wife's car, and she does drive because she really doesn't. She really likes automatic. So anyway, she says she doesn't want to go near them on day, because if she does anything to it, I'll be really beat up. The little Mazda's a 323. It's done 70,000 miles. It had no MOT when I bought it. I bought it in a B&Q car park, as you do. Very nice. Off a very nice Eastern European guy who just he drove it up. He had no MOT. Oh well. But anyway, I drove it once around B&Q and thought, okay, this seems to go and stop. I mean, the fragile thing on these Mazdas is supposedly, touch wood, is the auto box. Mine seems to shift fine. It's one of those things. It's like in England, Britain, we sort of think, a car gets 70, 80,000, but it starts, problems with it in terms of the automatic transmission. But I've been reading a bit about the American forums, and this box quite frequently does 200,000 or 300,000 miles over in the States. Now, admittedly, it might be doing locked up in top, driving on with hundreds of miles, and I appreciate it's different conditions. But
it's 70,000 miles. It's 70,000 miles that is really due an oil change. Then, really,
the transmission, yeah. I've been debating this ever since I've had the car. It's obviously it's got a filter, so you could drop the transmission cover and do the filter as well, and do all the oil, or you could just do a sort of partial change through the with a pellet pump or something. I haven't got one, but a mate has on the forum. So I'm just debating about to do that, because some people say with old automatics, leave them alone. You might mess it up by touching. It's working, leave it. But then obviously, I'm having a look at the colour of what's in there. It's not black. It's certainly brown. It's not on the first flush of youth. There's a bit of a debate there about what to do on that. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it, because the other thing about it, I'm playing cam belt roulette on it at the moment. If it goes for another MOT, which is in May, but might be 6 months longer now. Then I was going to probably get the cam belt and water pump done, and then do something about the transmission. I've got a cam belt kit already ready to go on it, which I've got for about 10 quid. So with pullers and everything. So So it's quite a rare little car, because it's 3-door was pretty much only sold about 1,000 of them here. It's more popular in the continent and so on. But it was only probably 30 or 40 of them left. So it's a nice little thing, and it's not particularly quick, but it's a good little sort of shopping car, that sort of thing. Which is 20 odd miles away, because she goes to special school. And she likes going in it. So it gets used quite a lot. Done 12,000 miles in it, I guess, in a couple of years.
And is that going to be a keeper, or is it, say like you lose your cam belt roulette? Will that be?
That one's a bit. It's tricky. It's got a bit of rust. Definitely needs, it's got a sort of classic one. It's got like what you call the Escort rust. It's around the top of the Puma. It's got that sort of rust around the edge of the wheel arch. It's probably gone through It probably needs new metal if you're going to do it properly. I probably should be sanding it down, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so it's a bit on the cusp, that one. It's never going to be worth anything, and I think at least with the Ford, sort of someone will probably buy it because of the huge ceiling around Fords. Whereas a Mazda, apart from people in Autoshite and places like that, it's not got a big following unless it's an MX-5 or. I mean, you see a lot of there's a lot of MX-6s that come up on sale, Gumtree, whatever, and most of them, they're not worth that much. They're not sort of. I know they don't have the greatest reputation, but it does seem part of the MX-5 Mazda hasn't got a huge following. Well, there's a few other models I can think of, but Mazda hasn't got a huge following in this country. So it's not like Honda. Honda's cool. You slam it. You're a kid. 18, 19. You slam it. Whatever else. But Mazda doesn't really seem to have that following. So I don't know. It's on the cusp, really. I guess I could spend several £100 more on it, and it will go for a few more years. But with that slight, sort of question over transmission, really. Is yours an auto? Yours Toyota?
No, they're all they're all manual. I mean, I've had two automatics, and the first one was a Honda Civic. 1.4. You know the one that Rover used for their 45 or the 400.
Yeah.
It was
400.
it was the Honda version of that, and it's all right. Just drank petrol when I was a lot younger. I couldn't really afford it.
Yes.
But I had a CRV then. I inherited it from when my dad passed, and he never looked after it. I mean, Jesus Christ, the bloody state of that fucking thing. Right. So like the only time I think it ever even got a service was when I took it, and that was an auto, and that had a pressure switch problem.
Yeah. Right.
It's a mouthful for a Friday. But I think the wife needs a new car now, and she will be looking at an automatic for her, because her commute to Birmingham is a lot more stop-start than my one. Right. But whatever car she gets, it won't be 500 quid. It'll be something more keeping up with the Joneses. Really. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I read on places like on this John and stuff, and he always bangs on about you still need to get a traditional auto, even in the modern, like I think the Hyundais and the Kias. It's a traditional, auto box, pretty much like they've been making for years. You can still change the oil. It's not sealed for life, and so on. And I don't know if that's rubbish. Or I don't know if they're any better than the other sealed for life ones or not. But great, So I don't know, but sorry to interrupt. Do you know what might help you? If you turn your cam off, so it's just audio. But that might help you. I'll turn my cam off here, so it just helps your bandwidth, really.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now how do I do that? I've done it here. You just turn it off.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No, I can still say like on this. Oh, there we go. Now. Wicked.
Yeah, I
should
don't know.
Improve it now.
Yeah.
All right then. Yeah. So, moving on from the Mazda. The next one is your Rover Metro.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about Metro. That's the newest edition that came in. Only came in a month ago when we were still able to move about. Went under house arrest. But having said that, it was only about 6-7 miles away from me, so it wasn't. It's just like the road, really. That's done. Again, quite a low mileage car. I think it's about 50,000. No, maybe 50,000. It's the 1.1 base model. You can see the theme here. I like it's a base. So there's no power steering, no central locking, nothing. It's just a car. But it has got some Lucas immobilizer on it. It probably just needs junking. I just need to work out how to get that off the car, because just basically waste of space. So it's got the K series. This one, it's got 1.1 K series, single 8 valve, not the 16 valve.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it probably needs cam belt, definitely water pump, because I think it's making a few noises it shouldn't. And there's definitely a leak somewhere. I don't know yet. I haven't, because since the lockdown, I've not been able to work out whether that's thermostat housing, which have a reputation for leaking, or whether it's water pump itself overflowing out of that, or whether it's the head gasket, which is of course your favourite K series thing. And sometimes with the K series, I think in a way it'd be better if you knew the head gasket had gone in the past, because at least then it might have been fixed properly. Well, if you get an old one like this, what's the thing? Yeah.
Well, I have that really, because I've got that Rover 25 outside for the engine for the ladder, and I bought it on the provision that the guy hadn't bothered. I think he said, it doesn't need a. What is it? He said he's checked it. He was a mechanic or something, and there was no evidence of oil. I took the cam cover off the other day because I'm trying to find out what cam sizes there are, and first thing that comes off, I just see the mayonnaise. Not a lot of it, but enough for me to think you were full of shit. So, but I knew that anyway when I bought it. It's better to look at these cars and think sometimes if you want it, or you want to keep it for any length of time, assume the worst, and at least you know it's done then.
If worst comes to worst, I'll get the upgraded head gasket, kit they do. Get someone to do it, and metro values are increasing, which is quite strange, really, because they've been banging around the basement for a very long time. It's quite strange for me to sort of think, metros have always been either an old Dell's car, old Deere's car, or a young driver's, first car sort of thing. And now it seems to be sort of appreciated. There's a little bit of a collector's scene around them. Even the later Rovers. I mean, you can imagine the older ones now because they're pretty old. So my plan is to probably get it all sorted out. But funds permitting, if the lockdown goes on forever and I'm not be able to earn the money I usually can, and we'll see what happens. But at the moment, of course, it's sitting there, probably dripping some water on my I rent a driveway up the road. It's probably leaking coolant all over my neighbour's drive, and battery going for that. But I think it has a new one, right? But but I don't know. That one still. I mean, I think the suspension is not quite right either. It's a bit too bouncy. It should have a better ride, I think, and that needs looking at as well.
Because that's hydrogas, doesn't it?
Yeah, hydrogas front to rear. So I think the front's either a bit low or the rear's gone a bit high. I think he's had the rear pumped up. And he might, perhaps they've gone a bit too far. I don't know. I don't know much about the system, to be honest, but perhaps they've sort of overdone it a bit to compensate for a bit of loss over time. But at the moment, it feels like you get this feeling the rear is jumping over things in a way it kind of shouldn't. It's a bit sort of loose. I can't describe it anyway. But maybe it needs new dampers or whatever else. I know new dampers. Doesn't even have
I know what you mean. There is no there's no spring. Well, there is a spring. There's no damper because it's a fancy hydro pneumatic system.
So I need to sort of learn a bit. I mean, that's kind of what I quite like. It's new. I've not had a Rover before of any kind. So or an Austin actually. So it's a new experience, and hopefully it'll turn out to be a good one. If not, I think it will be a car I can move on, and I guess it's the most likely to be moved on because the other two have clearly got roles. The Mondeo is my work car if I need to go on work trips, and the Mazda's for family hack, as it were. So but we'll see. Time will tell.
Well, exactly. I mean, because it's 91, that would be around the time. Let's have a think. That's when the British Aerospace took over, wasn't it? So is yours an actual Rover branded one, or is it one of these that are in the cusp where you have the?
It is Rover branded, and I mean there's a few sort of signs. It was like I think the interior light and things like that have still got Austin on them, stuff like that. But it does feel like a Rover branded car all round, and obviously with the K series, it kind of gives it that sense. But yeah, I think it's a fairly early one under that new regime. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to say about it. Yeah, I haven't done enough with it yet to really get. I mean, it's only been out on a few trips with me. It started leaking water and stuff.
Well, to be honest, like, because I'm curious with a lot of these things, like, with the reasons and everything. So, what made you get it? Really, what made you part your cash for one of these Metros?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think proximity is always a thing. Because I know one of the things about the forum is people love going on a long collection trip. And to me, for a cheap car, always at this end of the market is, you start factoring in a lot of travel into your purchase price. I mean, it's not really a cheap car anymore. Also, I guess I'm a bit lazy sometimes, but sort of, the idea of driving a car home from Scotland, I sort of think, well, suddenly a 300 quid car isn't a 300 quid car anymore, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
By the time you got it home. But that was one thing. But certainly, I've always wanted to try a K-Series car because, there's so much written about them negatively and positively. And 1.1 is, of course, the smallest displacement of a K-Series and supposedly the most robust because it was always designed to be a small engine, as far as I understand it. They kind of go up to 1.4, 1.6, and that's what kind of caused more of the issues in theory.
It was always designed as a 1.4.
Yeah, or was it? It's 1.4. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they went down. But
okay.
The real Achilles, I think, with it was that the head gasket themselves, the little, I don't know the proper term for it, the little bits, put it that way, the little channels dividers. Yeah. They're made out of a rubber plastic. Polymer type of thing, but if the engine got hot, the rubber would obviously move and shift. So that's when water started going in places, oil started going in places it shouldn't have.
Right, sure.
And but do you know what? You get that in any engine, really. I mean, think about the new Fords now that are coming out with the flat deck or open deck design. I don't know, but the 5-cylinder engines are in these performance Ford Focus STs and things.
Right.
They're chronic. They're chronic for overheat.
Oh yeah.
Gaskets.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, they're probably because they were going through them the first year or so, weren't they? Whereas some K-Series, if you've got a good one, even with those, that inherent fault could last a good long time. So yeah, and I think think about the K. It's that classic British thing, isn't it? The K-Series was quite an advanced engine, and they were trying to sort of push the envelope a bit, really, given the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, like Ford. Well, I don't really want to be bashing Ford. I don't.
No, you can bash Ford. Everyone does.
I think Ford only really got up to K-Series performance with both horsepower and engine weight, put it that way, only in the last 5-10 years, really. And you think about what Rover did back in the late 80s, it's phenomenal, really. It doesn't get enough credit as far as I'm concerned about that engine at all.
No, because Ford was still plodding out overhead valve.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
The car, the KA, whatever you want to call it, as well, right into the mid-90s, late 90s. So, yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's like I guess it's the wrong way around. It's that Rover did the engineering and then worried less about the marketing. I don't know. I don't know, because Ford have always been able to manage to package their cars so well.
Yeah.
And I think the story about Ford isn't like literally one of the only car companies never to have gone bust in their entire history. I think almost everyone else has at some point. And I guess it's that triumph of marketing, really. I don't know, but I guess the other thing that was happening around the time of the early 90s is that the sort of loyalty to a British brand was really declining, in my view. But the Japanese cars were so good by that stage. Okay, in the 70s, so we're beginning to come on stream, but they still had big, chronic rust issues, and into the 80s. But by the early 90s, of course, Japanese making great cars as well. If you're an everyday driver, if you're person just wants the cars to do a job. Japanese cars got so good. But of course, this is the irony being that Rover were in bed, got in bed with Honda, and that did really well for them as well. So it's quite a strange thing in a way. But yeah, so I think if you look at sort of Italy and France, they kept on buying French and they kept buying Fiats, Peugeots, Renaults all through some of their dodgy times in the 90s and beyond. Whereas I think with Brits, we sort of gave up on our Rovers a bit too soon. I know that K-Series cars sold very well and there's plenty of them out there. But you just think with a little bit more, few more sales, they could have just kept going a bit longer, and developed some new models, which of course by the time you get to the bubble Rovers and so on, things are really going pear-shaped, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's a rumor. I don't know how. I've never really looked into it. Really, is that the BMW 1 Series was effectively stolen from Rover when BMW sold them to a Phoenix group, the bastards. What did they do? They were working on a replacement for the 25 and the 40. No, sorry, 200 and 400.
Yeah.
And
yes, that stage it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and that work basically BMW says, "I will have that," and from the underpinnings of that, we have this 1 Series.
Right.
But that's what I've heard. Whether there's any truth in that or not, I wouldn't imagine see any Rover badges on a 1 Series.
No, but it's again that thing about the British car industry. So many sort of rumours hover around it about all these might have beens and could have beens. And that goes all the way back to the 60s and 70s, doesn't it? Just sort of a story of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, really, every time, and it's just, sort of the ultimate irony being the BMW Mini, which is just like, it's just like sticking 2 fingers up to this country in a way. If you're sort of from a patriotic perspective, not on a massive side, but if you look at it, you just think, crikey, why have they been able to build the car that we should have been building, really?
I think the newer ones, especially because they have the Union flag and the brake lights.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I'm like, it's nice, but fucking hell. It's effectively a German brand. You really are sticking it in there.
Indeed.
Where it hurts, really.
But are they exclusively made in Britain though, or are they built? I don't know.
Can't tell you. I have nothing to do with minis for a reason.
No, I'm not keen myself.
If they got, do you know what? If one came out here for 200 quid, I'd give it a bash. But I've been in them, and for the size of the car outside, for what you have inside, and I'm a big lad. I was just, where's all this space that you've stolen on me?
Yeah.
The opposite of TARDIS.
To be honest, my personal views, I've always seen them as a lifestyle car, rather than a car that you really, I just like my cars to be a little bit more practical, and that just felt it was marketing to a particular segment of people. It's
more of a function, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it just never really appealed. And I guess all that sort of slightly, it was like retro for retro's sake. Like, I mean, for example, all that the centre speed dial must have been everything in the centre of the car. That's not particularly practical, but it's just like this nod to the older Mini. It's not really a nod to the older Mini at all. I mean, I think it's just a bit cheesy, really. I'm not a fan. But I know there's a few now. It was a few because obviously the early ones are getting pretty cheap now.
So you look for parts and then you realise why they're cheap.
Yeah. Well, there was a few of them before, and they all seem to be going wrong. I mean, I sort of, I'm always keen to see people try and keep an old car going, but I don't think a Mini will be on my list for quite a long time. No, a long way down anyway.
But anyway, we'll move on to the last car because we're already overrunning.
That's fine.
You might as well introduce this one because I remember seeing them. I remember as a kid, and then they disappeared. And it's only until one night I was bored and not able to sleep. I watched I was just trying to click something off the bloody computer. Hubnot having one, so you might as well introduce it.
Yeah, well, so I've got a 1967 Invalid car, and mine's actually an earlier version than Ian. So his is like the final and best iteration, whereas mine is it's made by Invercar, so it's made by the same people who made Ian's in Essex, in that factory he went back to last year, I think it was. But mine's a Villiers motorcycle engine powered one, so it's only 197cc. It's one wheel drive. only one wheel is actually connected to the engine.
On the rear.
Yeah. So it's the rear, I guess the rear near side, such as it is in central driving position. It's the same basic principle that it's basically a cross metal frame with a bit of fiberglass body sort of screwed on top, and a few ancillaries from the British sort of parts being off various different cars. I think the brakes are off a Triumph Herald. I think various other bits nicked. Oh, the rear lights, the Land Rover, the brake lights. I mean, so it's sort of typical sort of British engineering, done in a shed kind of thing. This is quite interesting. But the thing is about the mines I call them Mark 12 is that there's very few left. Perhaps I think mine was like the 38th to be recorded on the register, if you like, of these that are left. But I only know of one on the road. I've actually driven the one that's on the road. It almost stopped me thinking to do mine anymore because they're incredibly hard to drive. Because there's, at least in Ian's one, he's got CVT transmission of a sort, whereas this has got clutch and a hand clutch. Oh God, it's
manual.
Yes, manual. Yeah.
Oh,
so you've got a free speed. I think it's free speed. Yeah, and so I mean, obviously for people with limited mobility, that's not ideal anyway. So you've got this rightly two-stroke engine. And I drove it sort of like about 500 yards up and down road, and it's tricky because the steering is incredibly sensitive. Whether mine's a complete wreck, and whether it'll ever actually see the road again, I don't know. But what I have done is at least reunited it with its original registration, because they're all registered in Essex, even though the cars will be sent all around the country. It was Chelmsford. I think it's Chelmsford register local DVLA office then, and so I tracked down the original reg, which meant going to the council, and I actually went back to the original, because this is pre-DVLA, so the DVLA don't really hold these records. So I actually got the original reg, had to get proof sent off, and they did give me back my original registration. So now I've got a V5 for it, historic vehicle, obviously tax-free as a result. So even if I don't take it much further, and I'm not sure about time and money and energy and whatever else, I know that in a way I might give it a chance by at least giving it a plate, because if someone does take it on, if they get it running, they can use it on the road, and off they go, and they can take it to shows and whatever else. But quite often,
Sorry, I was just going to say quite often the bureaucracy of it often kills cars, really. I mean, because even if you're only half as talented with a spanner as what you should be, really, it only takes one clown in a suit to say no, you can't have that, and then you're buggered.
That's right, and in a way, that's why I'm actually quite. I don't enjoy bureaucracy any more than anyone else, but I am quite good at sort of working my way through it. So I was sort of felt like if I could do anything for this vehicle that has sat in a scrapyard in Norfolk for God knows how long. I mean, when I got it taxed, it said last taxed in 1980. Now whether that's actually true is hard to tell, because this is before the DVLA was computerized, right? So there's a guy on the forum who thinks they defaulted everything to 1980 in that case, for whatever reason. But it's been off the road a long time, a very long time. But I guess the upside is it's such a simple vehicle, and I thought this is if I can sort of restore anything, perhaps it's this. It's a two-stroke engine. How hard can it be to at least understand how that works and rebuild various bits of it? I've actually got a spare engine as well, because mine is actually, to be honest, it's seized. But the one I have got a spare now that does turn. I've got most of it, But if I could sort of cobble one together, I don't know. Yeah, it might work. But as I say, even if I don't do it, I'm just trying to keep this vehicle alive. Really, I mean, it's a piece of history, I guess. And I think very few of them actually have a V5 attached to them, because even the ones owned by the Invalid Class Club, or whatever you want to call it, register, most of them don't have a V5. So I think I've already done something with it by getting its identity back, really. So that's something. We'll see how it goes. Again, unfortunately, it's in a garage 6 miles away from me, so under the current conditions, it's a bit not particularly necessary travel to go over there and start messing about with it. But particularly as there's jobs and all the other cars I've got at home that I could be doing anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, you said about the Metro and the Invacar being a fair distance away from your house. Is it easier to do that in terms of, I don't know, you outside on a Sunday morning and not having your wife look at you and say, what the hell are you doing that for? Why are you not doing something I need you to do, like my wife does?
I think there is that. I mean, I can go and hide up at the lockup. It is my proverbial sort of man cave, for want of a better word. But of course,
it's more fun in the pub as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and these days I sort of cut the drink out, so I guess cars have come to take its place to some extent. I guess it's another way of burning money, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I've always been interested in older cars, and I've never had anything that's been much under 10 years old. But I think it's certainly a hobby as you get older. It's something you can get into, and does give you something to sort of think about, which I don't know if I'm going to need.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one thing I wanted to ask you, because obviously you've done that work with the Invacar, the paperwork. How did you find the process really dealing with the DVLA in that respect?
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, a couple of times I felt like giving up on it, only because you can ring them up, because of course it's all call center based, and you ring some of these people up when I wasn't getting anywhere with it. And somebody would say, "Oh, we've not had any paperwork from you. There's nothing on the system. We don't know who you are." And then other times they would say, "Oh yeah, it's underway, mate. You'll get it in a few weeks." So you got very, it was sort of just basically meant sort of hanging on, hoping for the best. But initially rejected it because initially I sent them just for chassis number, but no reg.
Okay.
And they couldn't link the two together. So that's what prompted me to go back to the council in Essex and get the registration. Once I had that, I had a bit more of a case, and I sent them. I sort of overdid it. Though they don't ask for it, I sent them photos. I sent them all sorts of odds and ends around the car to give them an idea. This car really exists. It's not some ruse for me to get hold of a '60s plate. Then sell or something. But I don't know if it's transferable or not. I guess not. But
I think some old ones are. But I mean, whether from the '60s, like the take Ian's for example, the Tuck one. Yeah, I don't think you could transfer them. I'm not sure. There's probably someone who's a bit more.
No, I think it does say on. I think it does say on the V5, and I can't remember. I've actually haven't looked at that because it's not really into my mind to do that. But I know the only other in the car like mine that is on the road. It is a case that his the plate was taken off it, and he's just got another age-related plate on it.
Okay. Because
I think the plate he did have on it was some sort of Ford rally-related letters. I can't remember whether the combination of letters was. Obviously, if it's Ford and it's from the 70s, it kind of it goes for the money. So I think he basically sold the plate to fund keeping the car going. So I can sort of see that makes some sense on some level.
Because I mean, because when I registered the Lada 76 car, the plate came back and it was the old style 3 letters at the front and
suffix plate,
and I was thinking it's something I've got to look into, because I'm looking at this and the DVLA and I'm thinking, how have they kept you know, all these old number plates for such an event, like whereas I bring this thing from Europe, like.
Yeah.
Where do they get these number plates from? And there must be something along those lines where you got, you know, a fleet of cars taken off the road, such as the Inver cars.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm just.
No, it's a good question. It's a good question because, like, when do they decide? When do they finally decide a plate is free?
Yeah.
Because my Inver car, it was no record on. Yeah, if you put the plate in the DVL in the website, it didn't come up. Now some do. Some do. Some may have gone for 20 years. Like, for example, my parents' Mark II Escort, which was scrapped in about 97, it's still on there. It's still on there. You can still look it up. So obviously that plate kind of hasn't gone back into the sort of pool, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, whereas my one had, and okay, it wasn't particularly. I mean, it's XWC468F, so it's not like someone's going to be clamouring for that. But at the same time, it's hard to know when do they finally decide a plate is available. It's kind of I don't know. That's a good question. Don't know the answer to that.
That's someone I know the question who's listening to this, hopefully. But the final thing now, because hopefully we have rambled on, especially when we're meant to be half an hour and we're nearly an hour. Is basically what I want to try and do is, like, the next person I speak to, I want to try and bring a question over from the last person. So seeing as you're the first one, you get to set the tone, put it that way. So I don't know who the next person's going to be honest. Yeah. So shoot, what do you want to ask the next person? I guess
what I'll ask the next person is, what is their realistic dream car? I mean, what is something they can actually realistically, I mean, you know, not like the Ferrari Testarossa or whatever. You know, what is the car they want in their lifetime they think is actually achievable before petrol runs out?
Petrol will run out. Don't be.
No, you know what I mean. Before petrol's made illegal. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think the question is, what's the dream car that can run on vodka? Because they'll never ban vodka.
Yeah. Well, I guess veggie oil. You know. Yeah.
Well, that'll be a Peugeot of some description.
They're going to be like gold dust because they'll be like the last combustion engines you can steal.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fantastic talking to you again
pleasure.
for the second time, and it has recorded. I can see the little values or whatever going up. But yeah, thanks so much for giving me the time, Ben. I'll see you again.
No problem. Cheers so much. Thank you.
No worries. See ya.
Bye.